have you ever felt this way, Mr. Falick? That everyone seemed to be in complete agreement about a subject, and you weren't. And it felt as though you were completely isolated from the rest of humanity based on your feelings and your opinions. Was there ever one thing that everyone loved and you hated?
Uh, let's see. Well, I know what you're getting at here. Okay, fine. You want to know something that everyone loves that I fucking hate? Top Gun. Okay, right there.
Wait,
Like,
no, no,
like
no.
no bullshit. Everyone, dude, everyone was like, "Oh, Top Gun should win." I'm just like, I'm one of 10 people on this planet who could give a flying fuck about Top Gun.
Well, you're talking about
Because
Maverick, right?
no, I'm talking. I'm
Oh, the
actually
original?
am talking about Maverick because or both movies because Top Gun is this universally loved fucking movie, and I'm over here in the corner like, fuck that movie. I hate it. All that movie is a goddamn Navy recruitment tool, and it's full of latent homoeroticism.
Fighter jet porn and
Yeah,
homoeroticism.
and it just has a great soundtrack, and everyone else saying, "Oh, you got to see Top Gun Maverick. It's the greatest
Okay,
movie." I'm
listen.
like, fuck that movie, man.
I agree with you, dude. But I watched Top Gun for the first time. I don't know, last year or the year before, and I'm like, what's the big fucking deal? My God, this movie was such a huge hit, and it's basically Tom Cruise sucking Kelly McGillis's tongue in blue light, and Berlin is playing in the background, and Anthony Edwards dies and leaves Meg Ryan a widow, and she's not even pissed. You know, I never understood that, but yeah, I totally dig. I never got the appeal. That's why I never watched it when it came out. Footloose too, I never got that either, and it's the same concept basically, which is just dancing porn.
You see, but Footloose, I actually like that movie on the cringe cheese factor. Because it is a cheesy ass movie, but
I
cheesy
think
in a good way.
Brown likes it because it's like an '80s movie. It has an '80s thing, and she loves Kevin Bacon. But
Well, yeah, and it plus, dude, the soundtrack. Like, I would rather listen.
that's another
to
one with
the
the
Footloose
soundtrack.
soundtrack is better than the fucking Top Gun soundtrack.
Flashdance is similar too. That's kind
Yeah,
of
but I don't. You see, now what's funny is I've tried watching Flashdance like 900 times. I can never get through it.
can't do it.
Can't do it. Like I've seen Dirty Dancing more times than I've
Well,
tried to
but
get
it
through
is the same.
Flashdance.
Think about it this way. I mean, like they're all like there's a lot of Giorgio Moroder going on.
Yeah,
There is this idea that you have a protagonist who wants to achieve something and then has a little struggle, has a little romance, and then achieves it by the final act. It's all kind of like the cookie cutter screenplay format of the '80s, right?
right.
So they're all related. They're all like siblings. Those three movies are like siblings, and they became phenomenons for their time, right?
Right,
And they
it was
created a
also
movement.
based off the soundtrack. That was like when you
And
made
the
a movie to sell
soundtrack,
the
yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack is key to selling the product.
And like the Flashdance soundtrack, like to me, isn't even all that great. Like it has like 3 good songs, but again, I'm
You
only
got
saying
what a
that because
Flashdance. Oh, what a feeling! You got Maniac, and you got what's the
the
other one?
stripper song, like right at the beginning when she's like, I guess I don't know.
I
Those
don't
are
know
like
why
the
I'm
two.
thinking of Gloria by Laura Branigan, but that song
Yeah,
might have been.
no, because you're stuck on Giorgio Moroder. That's why.
Well, she played it during one of her little things, and she couldn't start dancing right or something. I don't know. There's a bunch of people sitting at a table. It's like classic scene. People sitting at a table. She puts on Gloria. She falls.
Oh.
She stumbles. That was wonderful. But anyway,
Anyway,
so
I
you
guess
know what
I
I'm
guess
talking
your
about.
whole
You know
your
what I'm
whole
talking about.
your whole circle around this is like everything everywhere all at once got all the awards, and you're just like, I don't care.
There are some. Okay, I will give you this, Mr. Freilich. There are some individual things that were interesting and great, like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
There's no question she deserved that Oscar because she completely disappeared inside the role, and I didn't even realize it until my wife said, "That looks like Jamie Lee Curtis. Could that be Jamie Lee?" I'm like, what? Because I didn't really see anybody. I didn't even recognize Short Round, frankly, until you reminded me that he was in the movie. I was like, "Oh shit, that's right. He's the husband." But Jamie Lee really did disappear, and she did earn it. And also, I really liked her speech. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, thanking her parents and everything like that. Thanking everybody. Even gave a shout out to, like, thank you for all those who supported my genre work over the years.
Yeah, that's another thing. She actually she acknowledged that slasher movies is how she built her career.
Yeah, so good. She's not
Slasher movies
she's
and
not a
then Trading
stuck-up
Places.
prude.
She should have thanked John Landis because John Landis turned her into a serious actress.
Yeah, but at the same time, she should have thanked John Carpenter for giving her first shot.
Well, I mean, sort of there. It's sort of implied.
It is.
But after
I was just shocked she won because, dude, I was calling for the win. I was hoping for the win. Like that was my. I
did
wanted
you,
to
okay,
win.
they're making a big deal about Angela Bassett's face.
Yeah, because
She
was
looked
all
crestfallen, like she thinks she earned that fucking Oscar, and I'm like, get the fuck
no,
out of
because
here,
you starred in
Angela.
a fucking Marvel movie, and Marvel movie, you made history by being the first person to be nominated for an Oscar for a Marvel movie. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's I guess progress, but
But
you know,
it's still you starred in a Marvel movie.
you
You
didn't do
weren't
anything.
going to win. You weren't
You
going to win.
basically you stood in a medium shot and didn't smile and collected a paycheck. Okay, you shouldn't even be nominated. She was wonderful. I told you she was a great actress 30 years ago. She was nominated. She played
Well,
Tina
I
Turner.
mean,
Remember?
yeah, dude. I'm not going to sell her short. She is still an amazing actress. Okay, I mean, she has her own TV show. She's still doing movies these days, and I am not selling her short. The problem is, it's like, honey, you did a Marvel movie. The Academy does not award Marvel movies for acting.
Yeah, but that's the
Only
thing
DC
though.
movies.
This is part of my issue with Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was it was sold as a Marvel movie without the Marvel superhero characters.
And you're right. Then that came down to the producing team of the Russos because
Yeah,
they were the ones, that obviously did the latter to they did Captain America: Civil War, and then
yes.
they did the latter two Avengers movies. So yes,
That's what I assumed we were going to be watching. Instead, it turned out to be, that. Which, I mean, the thing is, there are three much better films that it rips off. And those films didn't get nominated for anything. And those movies are Into the Spider-Verse. Well, Into the Spider-Verse did win for Best Animated Film. Give it that.
okay. So
And then
give it
there's
that.
also Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And then there's Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Now, you take all three of these movies and put them in a blender, and you've got this movie. And they're way better, in my opinion. I just, there's a quote that I put up at the beginning. I was frankly quite relieved that a lot of people shared my opinion about the film. Mostly on Reddit.
Mostly on Reddit.
in a subcategory called unpopular opinion. And a bunch of people then went on to that group and attacked those people for not liking the film. And then the moderator had to step in and say, I have to remind you, it's called unpopular opinion. You're attacking these people for their unpopular opinion. And then I read some articles. There's like this incredible, massive public relations campaign to bash people who don't like this movie. Kind of like Glass Onion a little bit. It's weird. It shouldn't be like that. If I don't like a movie, I don't need to be convinced. People were coming out of woodwork saying, "Oh, you just don't get it. You just don't understand the movie." I said, "I do understand the movie. I don't like it."
That's what people say about me with the original Top Gun. She's like, "How could you not like Top Gun?" I'm like,
I don't understand.
Don't.
There's very little to understand that you need to understand about Top Gun.
I mean, and I get it. I mean, but here's the thing, man.
I mean, if Angela Bassett gets nominated, then Val Kilmer should get nominated too.
I
Frankly,
enjoyed the piss out of Everything Everywhere. I'm not going to say it was my favorite movie of the year, but it was one of the top 10 of the year. I enjoyed the hell out of it. You didn't, but you don't see me fucking arguing with you, trying to convince you to like something about it. If you didn't like it, you didn't fucking like it.
not one nomination for The Menu. That totally disappointed
Now that right
me.
there was kind of a kick in the balls.
That was a fucking crime.
I agree with you that it should have gotten a screenplay nomination.
Screenplay and Ray Fiennes. Ray
Yeah.
Fiennes, I wrote in my review that you feel sympathy for the character even though he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because there's this great little bit where he's making a cheeseburger and he smiles a little bit.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
he has his face just he has that little smirk about him. It's like, this is what I remember loving doing, just cooking for people who actually enjoyed food and not being all bougie about it,
Yeah.
That's a new word, by the way, in case I don't know
Bougie?
if your kids ever. Yeah, bougie. I've been picking up on that word. I'm trying to get in some modern vernacular. Remember, I got a 20-year-old now. I have a 20-year-old daughter now, so I've got to get in modern vernacular. So I use bougie now to just describe something as like fucking for rich people. But at the end of the day, it's proper when you say about the menu. It's like, I got tired of cooking for these bougie ass fucking people. Let me just go back to making cheeseburgers for the common man. At least they'll enjoy my food.
yeah.
And it
I
was
want to
cool
talk
about
now.
that.
I want to talk a little bit about the just about the show in general. I was sending you little notes all night because you were at work, and I was watching the production as a whole. And this really was, despite like all that other stuff, it was really boring. Jimmy Kimmel's monologue was really boring. He made some jokes about Will Smith, which was interesting in and of itself.
Well, he did it indirectly though, because he never mentioned Will Smith by name.
He said if anybody slaps anybody, you automatically get a Best Actor Oscar.
No, that was a funny joke. I like that joke.
And then they talked about this crisis team that they have in place. The thing about it is, Those people
Oscar
didn't do
shouldn't have a
anything.
fucking
Nothing
crisis.
happened.
You shouldn't have a crisis team. I like what he said. He goes, and don't worry, if anything happens, just do what you did last year. Nothing.
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 Yes.
I mean, dude,
Just
I
sit
get,
there.
I get
Just
where you're
sit
coming
there.
from. A lot of people don't like Kimmel like that. I, unfortunately...
I'm not a very big fan of Kimmel.
See, I like
think
Kimmel.
Adam Carolla's funnier, and he does get Adam Carolla to write his jokes. Adam Carolla usually talks about his experiences working with the Academy writers. He says they don't know how to write. They don't have a sense of humor. He gets invited every year to work with them and try to spruce it up and make it a little more, slightly more vulgar. Anyway,
Kimmel to me was fine. He was perfectly fine. He didn't bother me in the least.
Was anybody going to slap him? I mean, did they?
No.
They went back
No,
to him because he was the safe
funnier
one.
if Matt Damon would have came up on stage, like that
You remember-
whole cocaine, that whole cocaine bear bit. It would have cracked me up if it was Matt Damon inside the cocaine bear, and then he came up and
And smacked
fucking
him,
Kimmel.
and said, "I'm still fucking Sarah Silverman." What I want to say is this reminds me of the time. There's always been controversy when it came to the Oscars, anyway, right? There was this time I think David Letterman hosted the Oscars, and it was considered incredibly unfunny, even though I loved it because I find David Letterman funny. He's just frankly funnier than Jimmy Kimmel. And then they decided we'll play it safe next year and bring back Billy Crystal. And Billy Crystal, they obviously had to throw a lot of money at him because he didn't want to do it anymore. So this is just more, this is the calming down of things and boring things, making things boring after something exciting. Because what did I tell you? I told you a couple of days ago. I said people want to see this again. They want to see somebody get smacked. And I tell you, that's what they should have done. They should have gotten every winner should have gotten on stage and smacked the presenter.
Oh God,
that would have been
well,
awesome.
Here, how about this though? I'll give you this. You were right about one thing. One article just came out today. Oscar viewership was up this year.
Yeah.
They ended up getting 19.2 million viewers. It said it was up like 12% from last year.
That's pretty.
So it's good.
Well,
It's
19 million. No,
progress,
that's a little more than 12%. But
well, that's what they said. I mean, that's according to the article I just read. But yeah, Oscar viewership was up.
It was so
That's good.
boring. Okay, now they did this
I will
thing.
admit, yeah. But this is why I'm glad I was at work because, dude, at work, the only categories you're gonna actually, see, or I should say, hear in my case, was technical stuff, right? The only time I actually paused to look was on the supporting actor categories. When everything else was going on, I was just busy doing what I was doing.
Right.
But of course, I had to stop to see Ki Kwan and fucking Jamie Lee get it. I'm just like, yeah, I had to see that.
Now they did this thing where they did this tribute to the major studios, and I wanted to bring this up because
That was bullshit commercial. Goddamn.
it was. They
fucking-
started off with Disney too, and they used
Yeah.
that opportunity to do their Little Mermaid trailer. But I want to point out that they did a promotional thing for Warner Brothers, and half of the titles that were Warner Brothers titles allegedly were actually not. They were MGM and New Line titles. They were originally
Right,
made
and
by
here's the
MGM
problem.
and New
Hey.
Line, and just because Warner Brothers bought them doesn't
Right.
mean they made those movies.
here's a
and
better
Columbia too. They dissed Columbia.
I got that beat, dude. I got that beat.
Okay.
Morgan Freeman came out on stage, right? And he was obviously there representing the Shawshank Redemption, right?
Yeah.
Not a Warner Brothers movie.
Yes, Columbia Pictures made that movie, but Warner Brothers bought Castle Rock, which had controlling interest in Shawshank. They can claim they made it now. The Lord of the Rings, for crying out loud. I mean, yeah, it was a joint production, but it was basically New Line Cinema via Harvey Weinstein. Nobody says anything about that anymore.
Right, and he's listed in the executive producer credits. Yes,
He's the one who bought the project from Peter Jackson. He didn't have enough money at Miramax, so he brought it over to New Line, which then was swallowed by Warner Brothers. So they put all their money into it. Yeah, it was all political. Now I had a question for you because I brought it up. I didn't really understand why Lady Gaga did a tribute to Tony Scott, who had died several years before.
But I understood because it was for Top Gun. Because even though I don't like Top Gun, Tony Scott made Top Gun.
Tony Scott made a lot of movies that made a lot of money. They should have had an enormous, in memoriam dedicated to him the year he died, though. It's very much behind the times because I doubt. I will tell you this right now. Half that audience, 75% of the audience, doesn't even know who the fuck Tony Scott is. All a bunch of kids. They have no idea.
You should say 75% of your viewing audience don't know who
Tony Scott. Who's he?
Tony Scott. Who's he?
I thought he was a race car driver.
Yeah, he only made some of the most important movies you'll ever watch.
He pretty much defined a genre. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to say it, defined a genre by making a movie I hate.
Yeah, maybe. I give you, like we talked about, The Hunger. We talked about True Romance.
Yeah.
He made a really good one. God, it's just sometimes I get him confused with Ridley because Ridley sometimes wants to be Tony, and Tony
Yeah.
sometimes wants to be Ridley. Like The Hunger is a very Ridley Scott movie.
Man on
Enemy of the
Fire
State
good.
is a
Man on
very
Fire
Tony
is
Scott
really
movie.
good.
And G.I. Jane is a very Tony Scott movie, but they're not. They're the brothers,
Right. I said Man on Fire is a really good Tony Scott movie, save for the end. I don't
Crimson
like that.
Tide, man.
Crimson Tide. There you go. With a dialogue polished by Tarantino, so
Yeah.
even better.
You're going to be Scotty. Anyway, that was so Tarantino, that whole thing. We started talking about the possibility that All Quiet on the Western Front might take them all, but it obviously didn't turn out that way.
Yep, I called the only now that was
I do want to see that movie. It's on Netflix. I want to watch it.
I gotta watch it too. I was damn near right on the technical. I'm shocked that it got original score. A lot of people were. Like, I'm gonna be brutally honest. I picked Carter Burwell for that because Carter Burwell has had a very long, storied career in Hollywood, and I don't know if he's ever won an Academy Award. I really don't know if he has, and I thought he was gonna be due.
Didn't he win for Fargo? I would assume that he won for Fargo.
I don't know. You see, I don't know. I didn't like that was one of the awards categories
He's been nominated. Now, Carter Burwell, that's the Banshees, right?
Yeah, Banshees of Inisherin.
Now, that's Irish music, and it was a very Irish-centric show, too, I have to mention, because a couple of the documentaries and short subjects and all that got noticed, and they were Irish movies. It seemed like it was going to be Banshees because of all the Irish-centric stuff that was going on, but no, evidently not.
Yeah, All Quiet got that. I was shocked that it got that one. And then I told you about costume design. I was very shocked that Black Panther got
a bunch of white
costume
sheets
design.
got it.
Like, I mean, even
bad clip,
even
too.
though I don't want to see Elvis, even though I could care less about the movie, I'm glad it got shut out at the end of the day. But at the same time, I honestly thought it was going to get costumes for... I heard about how they had 1,000 different costumes that Austin Butler had to wear.
Yeah,
there movie.
Had there been, I'm sure there were big contenders in the past that were completely snubbed out of the process, right?
Right.
Like movies that got lots of nominations and didn't win for any. Like, I guess Shawshank is one of them, right?
Yeah, Shawshank never won a thing.
Never won a thing, but got a lot of nominations.
But then you got to remember, 94. I don't want to get too far off, but 94 was like the most stacked fucking year of movies. Like, you had Forrest Gump, you had Pulp Fiction, you had Shawshank Redemption, you had those three great movies. And Ed Wood, dude, 94 was just one of the best years for Hollywood, and it was
Yeah, but the Oscars was very political that year. That's why Forrest Gump took it instead. Pulp Fiction should have gotten Best Picture. Hands down, it was the most revolutionary film
I think Pulp
in
Fiction
a long time.
Is better than Forrest Gump. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Forrest Gump, but Pulp Fiction I love more. But at least it got screenplay.
I'm not a Forrest Gump fan. Not very big on later. I think Zemeckis hit his peak probably in '97 when he did Castaway and What Lies Beneath in the same year.
Actually,
that was his best year.
That was 2000 actually. That was
2000. Sorry,
97.
Yeah. What am I thinking of?
I'm not even going to say he hit his peak because, believe it or not, I'm not a big Castaway fan.
I really enjoyed Castaway, and I like the fact that he took a break from shooting Castaway to make What Lies Beneath so that Tom Hanks could lose weight. That's an actor thing. It's an actor-director thing. I respect and admire that shit. But
Contact was not that great.
Contact is the movie that came before those.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just going.
That was after Forrest Gump.
Post Gump.
That was the what do you call it? That was him cashing in his chips from Forrest Gump. Even though Romancing the Stone and Back to the Future, the great 1-2 punch of 84 and 85.
Yep.
And he also did I Want to Hold Your Hand, and he did Used Cars, that movie with Kurt Russell.
And Used Cars is fucking great.
Fine director, but unfortunately he's like one of these Spielberg sycophants, and he's one of these people that has to stay very close to Spielberg in order to maintain his power.
Well, because you also have to remember why the one movie you did not mention, the one movie he has a screenplay credit on and not a directing credit.
1941.
You got it.
All right. Him and Bob Gale wrote that one.
And Bob Gale wrote 1941.
Yeah, well, Spielberg was produced, didn't he? His production company produced I Want to Hold Your Hand, right?
Yeah, but that was only a year prior, though. That was 78, was I Want to Hold Your Hand, I believe.
Yeah.
I could actually. I don't.
But
even have
he
to look
used
that.
some of the cast from that movie and put them in 1941.
Oh yeah, Eddie Deason was in 1941.
Eddie Deason, Nancy Allen, Wendy Jo Sperber.
Yeah.
You said that Jim Cameron and Tom Cruise didn't show up because they knew that Everything Everywhere was going to kick their ass.
Yep, and I was right, wasn't I?
Well, it's bad form though. It's really bad.
I agree.
It's kind of being
it
a
is
bad
bad
sport.
form, especially dude. In Tom Cruise's case, he went to the fucking Academy luncheon, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't even show up to the awards because he figured, oh, I'm not going to win shit anyway. I'm just going to go.
Also,
back
isn't he
to, I'm gonna
supposed
go
to
back
be-
and film Mission Impossible?
Isn't he supposed to be really friendly with Jimmy Kimmel too?
That I don't know about, but yeah, apparently he is friendly. But I like.
He's been on the show.
Hubba.
Yeah, now Tom Cruise is very interesting because he has managed to continue to be the icon that he was in the 80s. And one of the things I've always found respectable about Tom Cruise is that he forges relationships with writers. He doesn't necessarily stick with directors, but he has friendships with writers like Robert Towne and Christopher McQuarrie. And both, it's weird because they both
and Joe Kosinski.
And Joe Kosinski. And also, who's that other guy? Joe Carnahan. He's a writer in addition to being a director. But all of them distance themselves from Bryan Singer very quickly. I found that very interesting.
Oh, yeah, I know. Christopher McQuarrie won't even talk about him anymore.
Mm.
And
They're very lucky
McQuarrie
they
won a
emerged
fucking Oscar
unscathed.
because of him, so there you go.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to say that Maverick, now Top Gun Maverick, this is one of those things that seemed like it smacked of desperation to get this movie into theaters away from streaming because they were really desperately trying to get people to go back to the movies after the lockdown, right? And it wound up working. It actually worked, and it seemed calculated because the only way you could do that is if you had Tom Cruise returning in Top Gun Maverick.
But that's not entirely true.
Are you sure?
Well, because, dude, Spider-Man No Way Home came out in December of 2021. And that movie did huge fucking business.
I know, yes. But the thing is, Disney has been often accused of inflating their numbers. That's why I don't put Disney into that category. Compare Spider-Man No Way Home to Black Widow. You can compare it to Shang-Chi and the other movies in Phase 4. Those movies didn't make anything near the kind of the money that Spider-Man did.
But I can say this honestly because I saw Spider-Man twice.
You saw it in the theater?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater twice. I enjoyed it. I saw it midnight, opening night, and I went and fucking saw it again like a week later because I enjoyed the shit out of that movie. I saw it twice.
I like it for the fact that it wasn't certain things, but I hated it for the fact that it killed off Aunt May. I really hated that.
Yeah, well,
Aunt May, I love Marissa Tomei. I've always loved her anyway. But last night we watched Untamed Heart.
Oh God!
I figured we'd watch some romance movies, and I was like, I haven't seen this one in a long time, and it's a really cheesy romance movie, but she is so goddamn adorable and cute in that film.
Adorable and cute. I'll watch the rest of it.
And she's hot, and she has in the new cut of it, you can see her boobies. There's a scene where Christian Slater just grabs her breast out of nowhere.
Oh,
and I'm like, only Christian Slater could get away with this in 1993, right?
Yeah,
and she's
probably.
like, let me take you into this room, and I'm going to take my top off and my bra. Now you can touch my breasts. Don't do it in public, though. You know. And we're like watching this we're all gobsmacked because it's actually kind of like a love story, and they have really great chemistry together. And it's like you don't see this in movies anymore. You don't really see love scenes anymore. Now every scene of erotica is all violent and nasty and looks like rape practically, you know?
Nah.
It's just but I recommend if you want to sit down with your wife and you want to remember a time when you were young and innocent and in love and all that stuff, watch Untamed Heart. Everybody, kids out there, watch this movie. It's cheesy and it's unforgivably sweet. And also really emotionally manipulative.
So I guess the word we're looking for here is schmaltzy?
Schmaltzy, yes. But it's good 1993 schmaltz. Tonight, we're watching Benny and June.
You see, I saw that when I was a kid. And
I never saw it. It wasn't my wheelhouse when I was that age.
I don't know why, dude. I was just heavily into pay-per-view back then, and I was just trying to watch
You fucking watched Benny and June on pay-per-view?
Yeah, I did, okay? What of it?
To watch Johnny Depp do the roll dance with the forks?
I don't know, dude. I was a dumb kid. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, okay? Hey, man, mistakes were made, okay?
Well, I mean, you got Mary Stuart Masterson. She's the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And then you have Aidan Quinn as the pissed off brother.
And then you got Johnny Depp as the wacky guy.
All right, so let's move on. That was
Moving
93.
right along.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about. Now, I didn't get to see the In Memoriam, but then you told me that Topol and Bird-Eye Gordon got snubbed. It's really terrible, especially I know how quickly they can work and replace these things and fix their slideshow, because I can do it in 5 minutes. If I can do it in 5 minutes, then some technician at the Academy could have done it, and we could have put them in there. Those names were important to cinema. Topol, I mean, he's Fiddler on the Roof. He's in For Your Eyes Only, and he's in Flash Gordon. Bird-Eye Gordon invented the B movie practically. He's the reason we have Jaws, okay? Bird-Eye Gordon influenced and inspired Jaws. Every movie that you've seen that Bird-Eye Gordon did, there was always the big monster, there was the scientist, and there was always the cop, and they all had to work together to defeat the monster. Bird-Eye Gordon is the reason we have those movies.
I agree, but
and
there were other snubs, like freaking Paul Sorvino got snubbed.
Paul Sorvino? They didn't mention Paul. Oh,
they didn't mention
God.
Paul Sorvino.
Did they mention Robert Blake by any chance?
Nope.
Nope, because he killed his wife, right?
Yep. There was a whole list of people.
What? I mean, there
was a whole bunch of people that didn't get mentioned.
That's because so many people died this year and last year. I mean, so many people died. I mean, it's just sort of. What about Nichelle Nichols? Did they mention
Yes,
her?
they did.
We want to talk about Best Actor, Brendan Fraser.
Yep, the one who I told you, and I called it from the get. I said it on the last podcast. I said, whoever wins Best Makeup is getting it. If Elvis gets the makeup, Austin Butler's going to win. If The Whale gets Best Makeup, Brendan Fraser's going to win. And I fucking called it.
Where's like a performance, you have to wonder about these things because Brendan Fraser's a great actor. He's always been a great actor, even when he was doing silly shit. He did Encino Man. He was a great actor. He did School Ties.
I wanted to bring up this one point, and I was saving it just for this. I never said it to you in a message. Okay. I mentioned the whole we know about the whole Encino Man thing, right?
Right.
You want to talk about the greatest full circle moment that nobody is like really talking about is like Encino Man represents two things. It represents the end of Ke Quan's career at the time because that was one of his last on-screen roles, and It represents the beginning of Brendan Fraser's career.
Right.
And then on Sunday night, it literally went full fucking circle.
Yeah, I saw Pauly Shore tweeted. He said, "Congratulations to my Encino Man bros,
buddy." But
I didn't. You know what's funny?
I love that. It was awesome. That was so awesome. And then again, one of the things you told me to mention, I will. Every nominee this year was a first-time nominee, or every winner.
Every winner was a first-time
nominee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I said,
But I honestly thought Austin Butler still was going to squeak it out. Because you have to also remember
he didn't do anything. I mean, there's nothing revelatory in his performance.
But that's me and you talking. Okay, that's not.
What did I tell you? You mentioned Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah.
And then I mentioned what did I mention? David Keith for Heartbreak Hotel. He was fantastic in that.
And then I said Peter Dobson.
You said Peter Dobson and Forrest Gump.
Peter Dobson, Forrest Gump.
Even though we don't really see him that much, we just sort of see from the neck down his guitar and you hear his voice, and it's kind of like that. It's really hard to gauge a performance based on that.
Or how about Bruce Campbell and Bubba Hotep?
Bruce Campbell and Bubba Hotep, and hell, you could say Nick Cage for Wild at Heart. Although he is in that movie Honeymoon in Vegas as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you could technically say Honeymoon in Vegas.
So Austin Butler really brings nothing new to the game. The thing about the makeup is, it isn't necessarily... They did something to his hair, obviously, because we were shocked when we saw him on the red carpet. My wife, Bronwyn, was like, that's the guy who played Elvis? Wow.
But that's what I'm talking about by the makeup. That's, good makeup helps enhance the performance. And that's why I was saying, whoever wins makeup is going to win actor.
But you can't... I mean, that's the thing. Gary Oldman and Robert De Niro have said this many times. You can't let the makeup wear you. You have to wear the makeup. You have to make the makeup your bitch. And I think that's what Brendan Fraser did. When he got into his fat suit and he gained a little weight, you can see that he looks completely comfortable as though it's part of his body. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want to watch.
I know you haven't seen it, but there was one scene in the movie that did it for me. when I saw it in the theater, and I was just like, holy fuck, this movie needs to win Best Makeup, goddammit. Like, right now, there is a scene where you see him showering, okay?
Mhm.
And he's, like, naked.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I kind of don't want to see it.
Okay,
You know?
but it's still one of those, it's like when you look at the suit, and you look at the fat suit, and you're like,
Yeah, and how he...
wow, this looks real.
Well, I think they had finally managed to, like, integrate, because they had done fat suits before, right?
Well, what they
did
also said was they
Nutty
did
Professor,
use
you
a
know.
little. They did use a little CGI to polish
polish
things
him, yeah.
up, but other than that, it's like 95% practical and not, you know,
I just
a
don't
digital
know,
effect.
because sometimes I feel like that guy. And I know I'm not, and my wife and child always tell me, no, you're not that. You're losing a lot of weight, and I'm trying to lose a lot of weight. Maybe it would be good encouragement for me, I suppose. You know, I've been off red meat for almost a month now.
Oh, how's that working out for you?
I have to tell you, okay. I don't want to gross you out. I really don't want to gross you out.
Then don't. Then don't.
I just
Save
want to
it for-
say, I had problems being regular before, and
I figured your BMs were going to be a little bit better once you cut the red meat out. Yeah,
Every
and
day now.
that-
Every day now. I
and
used
that's
to go
normal.
days
That's
without.
normal. Everyone says their BMs are better when they cut the red meat out of their system. I get
But
that.
the
That's
problem,
not gross.
there is a problem though, and the problem is there's only so many ways you can make chicken and turkey, and
Yeah, that's, you know, because I tried that shit a few years ago, like getting off red meat, but like, I'm sorry to not to gross anybody out themselves. I can't resist an Arby's fucking beef and cheddar, man. I'm sorry, I can't.
we used to have an Arby's. We don't have it anymore, unfortunately. But you know what I do though? I gotta say, I know it sounds like bullshit, but Burger King's Impossible Whopper is really pretty good.
My wife had it. She said it was good. And
Yeah,
she's
tastes.
on keto. She's on keto, so she had to try it.
So if I want a cheeseburger at the, I'll go to Burger King and get the Impossible Whopper.
There you go. But then you got to cut the carbs out too. You can't eat the bun. You got to eat that bitch naked.
I don't want to, please. Okay, now let's